If you haven't read The Art of Jacob Emory, you can listen to the audio drama version of it here and read the original text here. This analysis video contains spoilers of a story one should really experience on their own terms. The Art of Jacob Emory has a plot that, when described without a description of its writing style, might sound like more of a classical horror story, perhaps something out of an episode of The Twilight Zone. And indeed, it is a bit of strange fiction more in line with the surreal premises of authors like Rod Serling and friends. But many of its features as a story push it into the realm of radical realist horror. We call this creepypasta. It's often said that creepypastas are the natural evolution of campfire stories. Now, I've heard some pretty unbelievable campfire stories, but the best campfire stories, the ones people remember fondly, are the ones that are so down to earth that they could be true, that they seem true. One might even describe them as tall tales if they were the skeptical type, as in stories that are true but embellished. And it's in that respect that this statement rings true. The effective campfire story is personal, local, believable, and hits close to home. It's this way so that listeners will be afraid when they try to go to sleep in their tents. A good campfire story works without theatrics. The campfire, noisy woods, and the paper-thin shelter do that work for you. Yet creepypastas can't benefit from such things. It's told online without control over the setting of the listener. So creepypastas have adapted their own set of techniques, tailor-made for the internet as a gallery rather than nature at night. Being able to fact-check with Google gives authors more authority to include journalistic details. The internet has united people that had experiences they couldn't previously share on a global level, now allowing people with similar strange memories to commiserate with one another. And horror stories that would have once had trouble finding success in Hollywood or with major publishing companies can now be self-published at essentially no price. Furthermore, memes as described by Richard Dawkins have a foothold in a global market, which has resulted in some unexpected shared ideas and thoughts. So, campfire stories are declining in cultural importance, and creepypastas are increasing in importance. This is a transition, even if campfire stories hang around in a small way. The evidence of this transition, the missing link if you will, the transitional fossil, is the Art of Jacob Emory. As you read The Art of Jacob Emory, or rather, as the narrator tells you the story, we can imagine that you are young, as those who read creepypasta tend to be. The narrator is older. You have an interest in creepy stories. That's why you asked about ghost stories before the story began. You asked by looking up creepypasta. It's rather meta when you think about it. This story is a torch being passed down from senior to junior. It's a personal anecdote being told to us being new horror authors, so that we may log this piece of strange pseudo-nonfiction, to learn from it, to study it, and to understand what aspects of it can't be maintained in our new global environment. See, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. There was no way evidence of Jake's art could stay around. The narrator has an easy out. Our stories, again, us being new horror authors, make our stories in a new context. With phones, the internet, and digital media, proof of our claims should be easy to come by. However, we usually lie, don't we? So we must adapt and become more creative. The narrator gives us some advice. See, Jake's art would naturally walk away. Jake's art would only exist in a small town, away from the rest of civilization. Jake's art would burn down a building, destroying evidence. Jake's art would be captured and contained by the government and G-men. Jake's existence would naturally be hard to come by because most of the people that knew Jake have died of natural causes. The story is creepy and wonderful in its own right, as just a story. But what it symbolizes, what it means to us young bloods, is just as important, if not more so. Jake is a classic Icarus story. Jake flew too close to the sun. He was an artist, like us authors, becoming more deranged and fantastical, reaching, stretching, so that his pictures would become more romantic, more sweet and savory, and it all ended horribly when out of hubris combined with alcohol and narcissism, he constructed art in his own image. He constructed a statue of sorts to his own ego. A Mary Sue that, as it happened, didn't agree that Jacob Emory was the greatest artist who ever lived. The drawn Jacob is a reflection, a monster, just like the real Jacob. Creepypasta authors and content creators should learn from Jacob. Don't go too far. Less is more. Less is believable. To quote the author, not realistic, nah. But that was part of the appeal. None of us went there expecting something real. That sentence wasn't just about Jacob's downfall, but the downfall of modern horror authors. The art of Jacob Emory is more than an Icarus story. It is a history lesson, a case study, and a guiding compass, for me at least. If you have something to contribute, please leave a comment. And if you want more content like this, consider subscribing.